welcome to the Cambridge Power Platform User Group's summer event. For those of you joining us live, hi, please join in. Please join us in the chat to ask the speakers questions. For those online watching this after the event, hey, great to see you and glad you could come along, even if it wasn't at the event time itself. Hopefully we've got loads of content for you today. We've got some fantastic speakers. Let me just show you who those are. So coming up, we've got brothers for the first time. It's a bit of a family affair today. So we've got Renato and we've got Douglas, who are coming along to share their various different perspectives about AI. So transforming business operations with Copilot Studio and AI Builder, and then leveraging AI to document our Power Platform solutions. So kind of both sides of development of those Power Platform solutions. Looking for great sessions there. And then we've got Microsoft coming along, Sujya, who I've seen talk about Click to Copilot. It's a very good session. And hopefully it gets people excited about Copilot and SharePoint. As you know, I'm SharePoint through and through. This is me. If we've not met before, lovely to meet you. Glad you could join the user group. We are open to everybody, not just locally in Cambridge. We are entirely online, so anybody anywhere in the world can join us. I'm the CEO of my own business, Business Cloud Integration, and also Casper 365, who sponsor the event, hence all the sponsorship. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP and a Microsoft Regional Director in the UK. Again, lovely to meet you. If I haven't met you in person, that's bound to happen over the next 12 months as we attend events and get back to that in-person experience. But if not, ping me online. I always say yes to a coffee, whether it's a virtual coffee or a real life one. So look forward to meeting you at some point in the future. So it's not just me here today. We actually have some folks behind the scenes who make all of the magic happen. So Sancho is not online today, but is normally there as a moderator and is one of the co-leaders of the group. Sancho is also a business applications MVP, so I'm very interested in all things Power Platform. We have Luke Drew Mackay in the background there. Do you want to say hi, Luke?
Hey, folks.
Who is our technical mastery and moderator. Luke's there to make sure nothing goes wrong, to do all of the sound checks, and to make sure that all the speakers get exactly what they need during the event. Luke also prepares all of our content for YouTube afterwards. So thank you, Luke. Amber there, give us a quick wave, Amber. Amber is smart. Also works for Casper 365 and is our event coordinator, doing all the coordination with the speakers, and we frankly couldn't be here without her. So thank you, Amber. So as always, bit of a do's and don'ts. Please be kind to everybody. If you're on chat, if you're giving messages or coming off mute to talk to our speakers, please be respectful. They've given up their time to come and share information with you today, and we thoroughly appreciate that. But please do be respectful of the speakers and any others in the chat. Any disagreements, can we please just park those and take those offline? We really hope that you respect the rules. Thanks very much. And get Douglas in here to talk to us about the next piece. Let me just share my screen with you. But absolutely super informative, Renato. Really enjoyed that as a session. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've missed a notification there. Here we go. There we are. And for those of you just joining us, we are at the Cambridge Power Platform Summer event. And let me get us to the right place. And we are moving into the Douglas, the kin slot to now look at leveraging that AI that we've talked about there. And I really like your first slide was really great about defining each of the parts of that, because it's rare that we kind of get that reminder of each of the individual, you know, what a bot is, what do we mean by LLM, you know? So it's really nice to refresh that right at the beginning of the session. So again, thank you so much for that one. Really great. So moving on to your brother, who's also an MVP. Can't believe we've got both of you on the same call. Amazing. Talking about documenting the Power Platform solution. Douglas, I see you're on camera. Thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. There you are.
Perfect. I'm the smarter brother, so you can just keep with me and then let Renato go. No, and I'm the oldest one, so I have the title and I have the right to mock him publicly. So that's the arrangement that I get with my parents.
That never happens in families, never. No, but it's great that you're both so interested in the topic, and you're both kind of on that. I think Renato, you're biz apps, Douglas, your office MVPs.
I'm BizApps too. I was Office, and then I got both Office and BizApps, and then now I have the BizApps. Yes.
Complete package between you, so you can easily stand in for each other. I really like that. It's a good concept. Okay, let's have a look. Here we go, bringing up your details again. Another great big profile here, and it looks like you've both been super busy, and you've been in the MVP kind of world for quite some time, both of you, many years. So it's always nice to see people. I mean, I renewed for my 5th time this year, so blue disc, happy lady. But you guys have been in there a little bit longer, and it's always great to meet people that keep renewing, because it means that you keep sharing and you keep having that impact. And as we can see there from the first session, you guys clearly know your stuff. So thank you so much for sharing with us, and thank you for being here today to talk about AI. Really, really appreciate it. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to hand over straight to you, Douglas, and let you take over. Tell us all about you. Grab the screen. I'll just stay here while you screen share to make sure that works, and then I'll pass straight over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna share first the slides, because we need to start with the slides, but then we will jump into the demo right away. And I'll start with a big statement.
Perfect.
Just to break the ice, AI is taking our jobs. Is that true?
As a conversation starter, I'll leave you to it.
Let's see if they are taking our jobs. But actually, what I wanted to talk to you today is something that I'm hoping that AI will take my job in that part specifically, which is how can we use AI to help us documenting stuff. Documenting specifically Power Platform solutions, but of course we can do the same. We can use the same approach and the same idea to do for other types of applications where we have access to the data. Renato showed some stuff that it's something that I will continue on top of. So it's nice that he presented on the Copilot Studio point of view. I'll do it in the Power Apps and Power Automate side, but it is kind of the same thing, or kind of continuing the same topic. So basically today we are talking about this one, and this session I presented the same session, not exactly the same session, but it's a continuation that I'm doing with the kind of the same topic, around the same topic since beginning of the year. And basically, and this session I presented into the London Summit a couple of months ago or a month ago, where I talked a little bit about how to generate documentation from the Power Automate Cloud Flows. And then one thing that I've been doing is every session trying to bring something new. And in this session to you guys, I have something that was done specifically for you guys, which is documenting web resources. So basically for each session, if you kind of search in the internet, probably you'll see one of the other sessions that I gave in one of the other events earlier this year, but each session has a unique touch at least. And for you guys will be the web resources part. Hope that is good. So quick agenda that we'll see. Basically, I wanted to set the scene. Let's talk about why or what is the documentation about and why is that important. And then maybe talking a little bit, how can we make this funnier than it is? Because let's be honest, documenting is boring. Then I'll talk about AI Builder prompts and a little bit about Azure OpenAI Service, but it's the same concept that Renato already brought. So I'll try to focus more on the AI Builder prompts. And then, of course, we'll have demo time, which is the coolest part, hopefully, if everything works. A little bit about myself. My name is Douglas Romao. I am Renato's brother. Even though we don't look like pretty much, I'm oldest than him. I have 33. I'm from Brazil. We are both from Brazil. I'm living in Brazil right now, but I lived in Denmark for about a year. I'm father of two. Actually, one is coming in the next couple of months. I'm a senior architect and team lead at Fellowmind Denmark, a company. Fellowmind is a company in Europe, and I'm working for the Denmark branch. I'm an MVP since 2017, and I have basically Office apps. I had Office apps, and then I switched to Biz apps. But I've been working with Biz apps since they launched, since Power Platform was launched, and I've been working with Microsoft technologies for over 16 years. So it's quite a long time already. I have one book published in the Microsoft 365 area, and I've been working together with Renato in another one that will come soon. And we have, me and Renato, we have some YouTube kind of series. You can see on the QR code, you can add us in the LinkedIn and everything. All the contacts are there. Just so you know, the content that Renato mentioned is this one. Is still only in Portuguese, but we are soon releasing in English. And basically is we are taking Microsoft Learn uh, courses and modules, and we are doing a study together. So if you see each one of these, so we have 6 courses right now in our YouTube channel and in our platform. They are completely free, and basically each one of them is taking one of the Microsoft Docs and Microsoft Learn courses and go one class by class in one video. So we have like a step-by-step going through the content and doing our own yeah, we are saying our experience. We are saying some of the best practices, recommendations, and things like that. So, yeah, feel free to add us or follow us in YouTube, and soon enough it will be in English there, using AI to translate because it's faster. But yeah, so AI Builder is this tree on the top, is the ones that I'm doing, and Renato is doing for Copilot Studio. So it's introduction level, and then for me creating GPTs, and for Renato kind of going through the advanced part of the Copilot Studio. So feel free to follow us. I think will be pretty good if you wanted to start working on this area. So let's jump into the content of this session. Let's set up the scene. So basically, what we have seen from when Power Platform came in. From Power Platform came in 6-7 years ago, and then from there, the idea was to bring low code, no code solutions into the companies and try to fill the gap where people are developing, people who are developing they have a lot of things to do. IT is like full of things. They cannot kind of do anything else. So applications and anything that needs to be developed takes 3 to 6 months to do and everything. And then Power Platform came in to kind of democratize this process and make people to start working. But then we saw that this process of having things like that, having low code things, no code things available, and making people from the business to start developing themselves is there's a gap in this area because it takes time for those things. But right now, after these 6-7 years, I'm seeing, and I be talking a lot with the community guys, and I can see that a lot of people right now, we have seen a lot of new people here. So citizen developers are coming more and more. We have the pro developers, meaning everyone that is coding to these solutions. We have IT, we have project managers asking all the time if the solution is done, how it was done, it is documented, can we support it, and everything. Architects developing diagrams and trying to make sure that these guys are following the best practices and everything, and the governance. So we are talking about at least these 6 profiles, these 5 personas or profiles. And these 5 personas, they have different expectations. They have different types of views of things. So they see things in different ways. For citizen developers, for instance, they are more concerned about how to solve a problem that they have. For pro developers, they are concerned about how to build a nice code and solve a solution. IT, they are concerned about maintaining everything up and running. project managers, they wanted to have things delivered and make sure that everything is well described, the customer understood and everything. And architects are kind of controlling if the governance is in place. So each one of them have different expectations. This is kind of what we are seeing so far in the companies. And please let me know in the chat or talking if you have a different view of that or a different experience on that. But that's what I have seen in a lot of different companies, both in Europe and also here in Brazil. And then apart from that, we have a bunch of environments, a bunch of solutions, a bunch of pipelines, a bunch of scripts, Power Automates, Cloud Flows, web resources all over. Everything has been increased because now we have more people developing, more people creating, more people building because we have now a solution that gives power to those people. But then what bell does this bring to you? The important thing for me, at least, is that being an architect, especially, is that, of course, I think a lot about the future. So when I'm building a solution, when I'm seeing or I'm designing a solution together with someone, I'm looking to the future, how this solution will look like in the future. Are we able to make sure that this solution will prevail, that will kind of is using enough best practices that in the future we can support? It's easy to maintain, it's easy to fix if something bad happens or something like that. How can we control that? And basically what we are talking about is that a lot of solutions are being built, and sometimes people are just not concerned about what this means. So we have a lot of more applications running right now. So thinking about solutions and documenting those solutions, we have some benefits. And those benefits are we can be connected to ensure longevity. This is the first thing that I mentioned, making sure that everything that we build long or lasts enough. And this maybe it's a couple of months, maybe it's a couple of years. We don't know because the technology changes. But at least, and if you have developed something, you probably know, and if you are working with multiple products, you already know that sometimes we build something today, and then maybe next week, we have no idea what we have done. And these, so we have, I don't know if it's ADHD or if it is lost memory or I don't know what it is, but a lot of times we are developing stuff that, yeah, next week, couple of weeks after, we won't remember why we did that, why this the rule is applied in here. So being connected to ensure longevity. And longevity here can mean tomorrow, can mean 2 weeks, can mean years. Another thing, another benefit is to improve governance and maturity. Governance is good because we don't think about the governance when everything is working fine, but then when something bad happens, governance is the first thing that we ask for. So governance is a pretty important thing. And governance ensures us that we can grow and increase our maturity level, both in our development team, both in also in our company, technology-wise. So maturity is important for us because then we will do things better, things faster, and everything. Benefits of documenting and having something like that is to support and enable adoption and change management. If we have a nice process, everything documented in a nice way, everything organized, it's easy for us to make sure that the adoption, both for the end users, but also for the organization in general, will be a nice process or kind of a lean process. And also we can reduce costs. The reduce costs, I have a question here. I put a question here, a question mark, because reduce costs means that when documenting, we are spending a lot of time. And if you are working in a consultancy company, documenting is something that always, or I won't say always because always is too much, but most of the time, people are not, or companies are, they don't want to because they say it's fine, we don't need to. Everything is low code now. Why do we need? Everything is agile. Everything is. Do we need documentation? And actually, they try to reduce costs on that. But actually, we can reduce costs by maintaining and creating documentation in a nice way. So when something bad happens, we can act faster, and we can solve things faster, and we can change things faster. We can make sure that changing an existing application will be well estimated because we know what that application does behind the scenes and everything. So we can reduce costs in a lot of different ways. And I think the discussion about costs when it regards to documentation, it's a pretty important topic that we need to bring always, because sometimes we try to do what I call, I don't know if in English will sound that good, but in Portuguese sounds very good, but it's a dumb economy. So we are trying to reduce costs of not putting documentation there as part of the project, but then later on, we are spending way more to fix something that could have been we could have done something beforehand. So this is a pretty important topic. And then why using AI to do those things? Thinking that investing in documentation is for the long run. Most people think about in the projects in the short run, but we need to think about the long run. First thing about using AI, why using AI? Documenting is boring. I don't know if someone likes to do it. If you do, please let me know. I can bring a lot of work for you. I don't like it. I don't know a lot of people that do like to document things, because it's we like to do things, to build stuff, not to document what we have built. So it is boring. We can make that, let's say AI can do that for us. Usually we do those documentation, or we try to find the documentation, or we remember about the documentation when something bad happens. So it's more like a reactive thing more than a proactive thing. And often people do documentation, but they don't update. So it really doesn't matter or it becomes useless, that documentation. So yeah, and I think this is probably most of the cases where we have a documentation from a project that has been built 2 years ago. And yeah, if we try to read that documentation, we'll see that has nothing to do with the solution it is today. So yeah, not effective as well. So using AI, we can set up something easy and fun. And the fun part is, of course, building it. It's not that when we press the button and run it, it's boring as well. But when we are building a solution, as I'm doing for these sessions that I have been presenting, and of course, we can build a lot of more because this is more an inspiration session. It's pretty fun, I would say. So we can make different solutions for it. And of course, as I mentioned, the demo session that I will give to you is for inspiring you. But out of it, you can do a lot more and a lot of different ways of solving it for your organization, which is pretty cool. We can work proactively. So instead of doing the documentation in a reactive mode, we can set up something that, based on when we have built something, when we have deployed something, when we have marked as review for something, AI already generates the documentation for us. So it can be part of, or can become part of, our standard development process. Instead of people think about, I need to develop, test, deliver, and document as a kind of the last step of the process. I could try to make in a way that it is part of the developing. So when I'm developing and I'm finished developing, then something triggers, the AI generates the documentation, I can review it, I pass this to the test guys, the test guys can use the documentation to use as a test cases and everything. And then this gets deployed to the customer, and then the documentation is already there because the documentation has been part of the development process. So we can work proactively on that. And then, of course, we can make this to be up to date. So if this is part of the process, or if we have an automated process that generates this documentation automatically upon an action, upon an event, or upon whatever we want, this will be up to date every time, because this doesn't depend on someone doing something. AI is already doing it for us. So that's why I think AI is so nice, and we can use this little robot to do stuff or cool stuff for us. So they are not taking our jobs in the bad way. I would say that they can take this part of the job for sure. Cool. So then how can we do it? So of course we have a lot of different ways of doing it, but I would like to present to you two options today. One option is using Azure OpenAI. I won't go that far with that one because it's pretty much almost the same that Renato demonstrated to you using the Copilot Studio, but I can show you a little bit more about the prompt side of it. But it's pretty much using Azure OpenAI to generate those documentations for us. Or we can use another low-code solution, which is the AI Build Prompt Builder, which is something quite new. Microsoft released it a couple of months ago. And it's a way for us to create our own GPTs within Power Platform, which is pretty cool. Basically, the idea here is that we can develop our own solutions. We can build these different prompts, and we can use these different prompts to do stuff for us. I'll put as part of the slide so we can share with you guys later, but there is a document that Microsoft created, which is this prompt engineering guide. They built for AI Builder, but actually works for everything pretty much because it's a kind of a guide on how to build nice prompts. And I would say that this is a pretty good documentation to read, no matter which solution you think to use or you try to use, because prompt engineering is probably the most important part of this solution that I will demonstrate to you. Everything else, apart from the prompt builder, is just fancy stuff like fancy screens, Power Automate flows, and everything. The core, the heart of the solution is the prompt, because then we are telling to the AI what we want, how we want, and what parameters they wanted to or they need to use to build the correct results for us. And I must say already that I'm not the prompt engineering guy, so my prompts are enough for the demonstration, but of course we can do, or we could do way better, or we can kind of do it way better than I did. So again, inspiration for you. We can build a lot of more things on top of that. And then jumping to the demo, I would like to show you two solutions. So the first solution is a Canvas app. And this Canvas app is doing pretty much the same thing that Renato demonstrated with the Copilot Studio. I'm selecting an environment, I'm selecting a Power Automate Cloud Flow, and then based on that Cloud Flow, I'm telling which type of format I wanted the output to be. I could send some instructions, and this is a Canvas app that will generate a documentation for me. And I could copy this documentation, do whatever. The second solution, and the first one is using Azure OpenAI. So basically we are using Power Automate to call APIs, call an Azure OpenAI API through HTTP, sending some prompts and asking for an outcome. The second demo is a model-driven app. So the idea here is to create a solution catalog. So think about it, that we could have a solution, and inside the solution, I could have Power Automate Cloud Flows, web resources, Canvas apps, everything there. And then every time that I do a deployment, or every time that I change a solution or one of the solution components or something like that, I could generate the documentation automatically. So the idea here is with the pipelines to whenever I do a deployment, it gets the latest version of that solution, that Power Automate Cloud Flow, that web resource, and then document it for me, saying this is the definition, this is what it does, this is what it does technically. And then I have also a button that I can click to generate that documentation on demand. So if the deployment takes longer, because sometimes the deployment takes a bit of time, I will show you the button, because the button works always when I'm not demonstrating. So maybe it's not working when I'm demonstrating as well, but let's see. It's a surprise for both of us. Let's see what happened. So let me share the whole screen now. And let me do a quick pause, just so you know. Is there any questions? Is there good? Base is good? Please let me know.
I think we're good to go.
While I'm sharing the screen. So I'm sharing the whole screen, so I probably won't see anything if you need to ask any questions, just shout out. And let me take out the Teams thing. Good. Perfect. So I have a bunch of tabs here to show you, and I'll go them one by one in a second. But this is just to show you the documentation that I mentioned. This is the document that Microsoft created, and it gives you an idea on how or where you can use these prompts. Things that you need to be aware of. So licensing is an important thing. This is everything that we are talking about here, both in the AI Builder and also in the Azure OpenAI. It's running through the consumption. So AI Builder, we have credits that will be consumed when we run it. And Azure OpenAI, we are consuming tokens. Basically, the credits are tokens behind the scenes anyways, but they are based on consumption. So you need to kind of try to check how this will fit in your solution in general, so you can plan for the licensing, the costs. But it's pretty good. One other thing that is important, both of them work with Azure OpenAI behind the scenes. So as Renato mentioned, Azure OpenAI, it's kind of a model that and a service that it's part of the Azure. And then if I use Azure OpenAI directly calling an API, or if I use through AI Builder, both of them are Azure OpenAI within your organization. So that's why they always mention here, your data is yours. We are not pressing anything outside. Everything is within your tenant, within your Azure, within your Microsoft 365 and Power Platform environments. So this is important for you to know. But both of them are using Azure OpenAI. The main difference is that in the Azure OpenAI side, we have a lot of infrastructure that we can set up, we can configure, and then and we can also have these deployments where we say use the GPT 3.5 Turbo, use the GPT 4.0 or whatever. And in the AI Builder, we have just two options. So basically in the AI Builder, it's more, think about it like an interface that Microsoft created, a low code, no code / no code, I would say no code in this case, solution that Microsoft created on top of Azure OpenAI. And then that we easily can configure and can create. And a business user could do it without any problems. Azure OpenAI, it's more like an infrastructure. We need to go to Azure and everything. So it's a bit more cumbersome. And the good thing about the prompting is that, or this document, is that they say about the ingredients. So they have this structure that says how you should create your prompt. And I think you should kind of eat these as breakfast, because this is kind of the future if you think about using AI, both for building solutions and also when you're using in your day-to-day tasks. So I think this is a great guide that can help you understand how this works. And also that documentation that Renato mentioned about the licensing will show you how these prompts, they will work in AI Builder and how they are consumed. So you can kind of estimate the costs thinking about it. So just so you know, all these links and everything we will share later, so you can have it easy. In the Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Docs, they have a lot of documentation about how to build a prompt. And so everything that I will show you here today, I will show you how to do it as well from scratch. But the documentation is pretty good. They are kind of updating very, I would say, fast. So you have enough information here to study by yourself. But you can watch our videos as well, because we are doing it for you. Cool. So let's jump into the solutions that I created. I would like to first demonstrate them, and then I'll show you behind the scenes how they are built. So the first one is this Canvas app, which I let this executed already, just in case it doesn't work afterwards. So you can have it as an example. Just kidding. But basically, this is an app, as I mentioned to you, that will try to find the environments that I have in my tenant. We'll try to find some solutions or some automations in this case. And then I'm saying, okay, which type of output I would like to, and then I can press the button generate to generate. So before showing it, I would like to show you the workflow itself. So let's see which workflow I'm using here. Is the demo manually triggered? So I'll just edit this Power Automate Cloud Flow. And this is a quite simple Power Automate Cloud Flow, just to give you an example, but I have tried already in big ones with a lot of different branches and everything. It works pretty well. But of course, it will depend on how you establish your prompt, how you design your prompt, or your prompts, because maybe you will need to use multiple prompts to do or to find the solution that you want. So this is a pretty simple workflow. Have some actions, some composes, some ifs, a nice if that checks if 1 is equal to 1 and will run every time. And that's pretty much it. So basically what I'm looking for here is to try to extract what this flow does and which connections are you using, and maybe things that I need to be aware of. I could ask for recommendations. I could do a lot of more other things. And basically what I will do here, just for us to test, is that I will put another action in here, just to put something different. Let's say, let's put Teams, and then I'll create a chat. It will set up a connection for me. It's just for us to see if the automation will run, so I can show you live for you. And if it doesn't work, you understand me, because this is how life works. It's not like the YouTube guys that everything works every time. So it's not always that everything works. I'll just put some information and that's it. Then I'll save it. And as you can see here, I don't have any actions. So my last actions is formatting a number, and hopefully after saving it and running it again, it will bring me another action. So I just save it, and then I can ask in different ways. So instead of asking HTML now, I will ask in Markdown. I could send some additional instructions, and these additional instructions is pretty much to give a little bit of more custom actions for my prompt. This example, I'm calling Azure OpenAI Service behind the scenes. So to explain you what I'm doing here, I'm getting some information. So it worked pretty well. And do I have a Markdown online website? Let's see if it formatted in a nice way for me. Where can I use it? Markdown live preview, let's see. Yeah, didn't work very well, but let's do some formatting here. And I can even ask in HTML afterwards for us to see it better. So you can see that generated, and let's see if the teams got generated as well. So 6 formatting, 7 create a chat. So it generated for me what that action does. So the details is create a chat Microsoft Teams with the specified members and a topic. So good, nice. I will just ask in HTML because then we can see it better. But basically behind the scenes, what I'm doing is I'm getting the information from the environment. I'm getting the information from the automation. And basically it's the same definition that Renato mentioned. So everything that we are talking about Power Platform, everything has a content behind the scenes. So for Power Automate Flows is a JSON definition. For web resources, is the JavaScript or the HTML or the CSS. For Canvas app is a XML file, and in the future will be a YAML file. So for everything, we have behind the scenes the content. And if we have the content and we tell the prompt that we are sending that content in that type with some specific parameters and everything, the AI can try to understand and give us an answer. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm giving the automation or the AI my definition, my JSON file, my JSON structure of that flow, and asking him, this is a Power Automate Cloud flow. It has a JSON definition. This JSON definition contains actions, triggers, contains specific parameters. And I want you to generate a documentation for me using these and these and that. That's pretty much what I'm doing. And then based on that, the AI is trying to understand that definition and trying to get me an output. And then, of course, things that we can build on top of that. We could use a knowledge base, SharePoint site where we have a lot of documentation and use those documentations as a knowledge base for the AI for them to know how to generate that documentation for me. In this example here, I'm not using it. I'm just giving the definition, giving some instructions, asking it to generate for me the documentation. But I could create this as a knowledge base. I could generate a lot of documentation and based on documentation, the tone that I wanted to use, if the tone is more professional, more cool, and these kind of things, I could use a knowledge base to train the AI to generate the documentation in the way that I want. Of course, we need to do a lot of work for making that to work in a nice way, but this is completely doable. So basically, this is giving me a brief description. What is the purpose of that flow? Then it's giving me some actions, who created and everything. And then the last action that I created is here. So this is a nice thing. Basically, the Power Apps is just to demonstrate in a kind of a good view. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating or I'm asking for a Power Automate Cloud Flow to do things. And I'm just sending some parameters. So which environment, which automation, and then some instructions, and that's it. So what does this, the cool part is actually this workflow here. I'll just get the latest execution so you can see it. So I'm setting up a prompt. So that's why the prompt is so important. So basically I'm doing is I'm telling you are an AI assistant. So I'm telling what role this automation will play. Let me put a zoom. Then I'm sending, okay, I will send you a JSON data structure containing a trigger information, actions, additional information. And then in the end, I'm saying, based on the JSON provided, please summarize what this flow does. And I'm asking for some other stuff. So what is a brief description, what is the purpose, information about the trigger and actions. The response must come using, this is the parameter. So I'm building this prompt as we go. So the HTML is coming from the Power Apps Canvas app. So it could be JSON format, Markdown, whatever. Do not send any text other than the output requested. This is important because otherwise the prompt will say, please be aware that this is generated by AI, la, 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 and we don't want that text to come together. So I'm just setting up the prompt, and then I'm calling an API. And this calling an API is calling the Azure OpenAI service. We tell which version to use, which model to use, send this data, an API key, and this will return to me the outcome. And the outcome comes with a lot of information. And the special part is the text, which is the one that I'm returning back to my Power Apps. So it created this HTML for me. So if I show you, so that's the part that I mentioned to you. It's pretty simple, the structure itself. The structure is build a prompt. I can build a prompt. I'm putting some parameters that I'm receiving from my Canvas app and send it to the OpenAI service. And the OpenAI service will return with the outcome for me. So this is how we are doing it with the Azure OpenAI service. So this is my first example. I did a Canvas app. You could do this as just part of the workflows without any user interface. That would work pretty fine without any problems, right? So this is just to give you an example, and it's cool to show in a nice interface. So this is the first example, but I would like to spend more time on the second example, which is the Solution Catalog Hub. And the Solution Catalog Hub is pretty much I created a model-driven app, and this model-driven app is meant to create a place where we could set up our environments. So I have some environments here. I could set up my solutions, so I could have multiple solutions. And for each solution, I have multiple solution components. Let me just add solution here so you see that this is connected to that demo solution and one is not. So in this case, I'm creating an application that will catalog all the resources that I have in my solution. And then maybe you have a question saying, Douglas, can we do it automatically? Whenever something happens, I go to my solution, I get that solution, I read whatever is inside, I create automatically the items in here. Yes, we can do that. I haven't done, I haven't done in this example, but we can do that. And basically what I'm trying to achieve here is that whenever something changes in one of these guys and I deploy it through my pipelines, this gets automatically generated. So the AI summary will get automatically generated. And for the Power Automate flow, I will do something else, which is a bit cooler than the web resource. So then, and in this case, I just create an example that I'll show the information in here, but we could have maybe a third table that will have solution catalog item version. And then every time that we change something, it will increment that version. And then I have a history of the documentation for each version of that solution when it has changed and what changed. Maybe we can even use AI to tell me the difference between the documentations and those kind of things. So this is just, again, to inspire you. Of course, on top of that, we could do way, way more things. We could maybe do, whenever a version is changed, we need to summarize. Based on the summarization here, we do an approval process, a workflow that will do an approval process. Somebody needs to come here, review it, and then based on that information, approve or reject. If it is approved, then the deployment goes on. If it is rejected, then we need to roll back and change some stuff before moving forward. So we could do a lot more, crazy more stuff. That's the fun part that I mentioned in the other slide. Doing or building those things. When we press the button, it's calling stuff and it's just there. But building this solution is pretty fun. So that's why I'm always happy to share in different places the same solution. So again, what this will do is once I deploy the solution or once I press this button, generate AI doc, it will try to get the information from this specific solution catalog item. So we have an ID here. And based on that information, if it is a Power Automate Cloud Flow, we will treat in a way. If it is a web resource, we'll treat in another way. If it is a Canvas app, in another way, and so forth. But we can do that. And then in here, I'm just generating a summary and information for this specific table and saving it here. But we could generate a Word document from it, a PDF or whatever. So again, we can just try it out. So for this automate flow, it is the same flow that I just changed, this one. I will click to generate an AI docs here. And hopefully this will work. So basically what this example is doing now, it's behind the scenes is triggering a workflow. And this workflow is gathering the information from this Power Automate Cloud Flow. And then it is running through the AI builder prompts. So I have two prompts there. One prompt is to summarize what that flow does. And another one is to create a mermaid diagram. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the mermaid diagram, but let me show you. Mermaids, it's an open source thing, and it's pretty much kind of a markdown or a way that you can put text and this interpret into diagrams. So you have a lot of different types of diagrams that you can generate out of the mermaids. And it's pretty simple to build it and also to see it. So instead of creating a lot of visuals and draw IOs and whatever, we could try to generate a diagram out of the our definition of the flow, for instance. So I could do, and this was one of the kind of the additions that I did for this session in one of the last ones, was to create this mermaid. So the idea here is that once this is ready, hopefully it will work, and a mermaid diagram will be generated in here that demonstrate how my flow is working behind the scenes. So I don't need to go into the flow to see what is happening, but I'm just checking it directly in my Power Apps, which is readable for end users, let's say. So if I refresh, now my flow ran, and then I have a summary. So here it just generated a summary. This Cloudflow is designed to get the weather forecast. Additionally, it performs some conditional checks and formatting, and finally creates a chat in Microsoft Teams. It's giving me the actions and everything. So the same thing or almost the same result that I got from the Azure OpenAI, but now from the AI Builder, because again, they both are using Azure OpenAI behind the scenes. And I also generate a mermaid diagram, which is pretty cool. Of course, as I mentioned to you, my prompt engineering skills are not so good. So I have a specific diagram that is showing some stuff. It's not showing a very detailed thing. So I'm not showing, for instance, the parameters that I'm sending here. But if I give these, uh, if I ask for those things in a nice way, in a right way, the prompt will understand. And the thing is, with the prompt, is that you need to test a lot. So you need to try out and try and improve, try and improve always. But how cool is that? We have now a solution catalog item, a Power Automate Cloud Flow that has a summary description already telling me what that flow does, what is the purpose of that flow, and some important things. Also giving me a visual of that flow without me as, so let's say that I'm a project manager. I don't need to go to the flow. I don't need to do anything. I know what that flow does. I already know it. I already can check if that description here is matching with the requirements. I can even see the diagram here that is documented, and we could export this into a Word file. So in the end, the customer already have kind of complete solution with the documentation. And again, I did it through a click of a button, but we could also do through a pipeline. So let me try to debug or deploy the solution to one environment, and then if that works. So I just have another version here. I'll try to deploy, because when I'm deploying, I'm triggering another flow that will generate these automatically. And then hopefully this will automatically updates this one, and also will run for the web resource. And then I'll show you how it's done behind the scenes. If it doesn't work, then I'll go back here in the web resource and rerun manually, just so you see it. Because sometimes the pipeline takes some time. But the idea here is whenever I deploy, so I will deploy a new version of this package. So now I have the version 1.0.0.5. I will generate the 0.6 if that lets me. Sometimes this validating part takes a bit longer, and my time is running out, so I'll try to be
No, it's
faster.
one thing. We've got a couple of good questions in the Q&A from Sean, who's online, asking about how you got the JSON and could you do an alternate to that mermaid diagram. Can you see the Q&A tab, or would you like me to read them out?
Yeah, I can. It's just that I'm sharing the whole thing, but I can see it. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is, let me just try to put this to run so I can show you guys in the meantime, and then I can already reply to you. Just copy this one, put it in here, here. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the same thing as Renato is doing. So for each type of solution item that we are using, so for Power Automate Flow will be one way, for web resources will be another way, for Canvas apps will be another way. For Power Automate Cloud Flows, we have an action called get flow definition. And this get flow definition already gives me the JSON. So I get this JSON, I pack it, and I put it into the AI Builder, or I send it to the Azure OpenAI service. So the way that we get the JSON is through this action called get flow. There's two actions, get flow and get flow as admin. Both of them returns the definition in a different way, but both of them returns. And then basically I get this JSON, and then I use this JSON to send to the AI Builder. So when I start doing the AI Builder, you'll see how this is done. So just to tell you that I'm deploying now the version 0.6, I will let it run while we talk about the prompt itself. And then you understand how I do the JSON part. So to work with AI Builder, basically you go to make.powerapps.com. You can go to make.powerautomate.com as well. And in the left side, you see this AI Hub. And in the AI Hub, it's everything regarding AI Builder. So you have the AI models, the document automations and everything. And now you have these prompts. And basically what Microsoft is trying to do here is they have some pre-built prompts. And you have this one, create text with GPT using a prompt. So the idea here is that you will create your own GPT, your own prompts, and you can have as many as you want, and you can use them combined. And as you can see, I have 3 prompts here. One prompt to handle web resources, one prompt to handle the Mermaid JS, the Mermaid structure, and one just to handle Power Automate Cloud Flows in general. So I'll show you first the Mermaid because I think it's the one nice one. So this is the screen where you set up your prompt. Basically, you need to write your prompt in here. So that's why I mentioned that this is kind of the most important part. Just to give you some information, you can have multiple inputs, and these inputs are variables. So this is the way that we pass the parameters to the prompts. So this is how I'm passing the JSON. When I'm asking Power Automate to use this AI Builder prompt, it will ask me for this property called JSON, and then I can send the JSON definition there. I can give some sample data, so if I want to try, I can try out from here. I can add some more inputs, so if I wanted to add more inputs, I can use it. One thing that is quite new, Microsoft created this, is to use data from Dataverse. So if I wanted to use data from Dataverse tables as parameters for my prompt, I can do it, which is pretty cool. Because then if you have a knowledge base, if you already have, let's say I have already documented things or other mermaids items into the same solution, into the same database, into the same environment, I can use it as data for my prompt. And then I can define which outputs I want. Text, which is the standard, and the text, it will be whatever I ask, but it will be converted into text. So if I ask for HTML, it will be a text HTML. If it's a JSON, it would be a JSON in text and everything. And I can also ask for JSON. This is new, it's also in preview for now, where you can ask the prompt to generate a specific JSON, or it will try to understand, build a JSON on top of your data. And here you can configure the settings. If I wanted to use the GPT model 3.5, which is the default, or the 4. So this is the difference that I mentioned that we have between this one and the Azure OpenAI, because in the Azure OpenAI, we have the GPT 4.0, for instance, and we don't have it in here. And then you can set up the temperature, and the temperature is how much or how creative this response will be. From here, I have the prompt saying, you are an AI assistant. I wanted to help me documenting a Power Automate Cloud flow. I'm sending some specific things for the mermaid because it won't understand just out of nothing. And then I'm asking to remove some stuff in the end. So all the instructions that are important, and I just got these ones because I tried first just sending the JSON structure from my Power Automate Cloud flow. It didn't work. And then I started trying out different things. And if I press the button test prompt, it will use my sample data to try to generate an example. So it just generated. I could come in here, paste it to see if it worked, and it worked. So nice. I will try my prompt, and once I'm ready, I can save that prompt, and that prompt will be ready to use. I'm doing the same thing for Power Automate Cloud Flow. So I'm asking in a simple text format, make sure to only reply to the response content, and I'm again sending the JSON definition. And for the web resource, then it's a little bit different because then I'm saying I have a custom script. I wanted you to summarize. I will provide a custom script in JavaScript or HTML or CSS, and I need you to help with that. So it will try to use a non-technical verbal language and everything. So let me just try. I have one example here. So it tried to understand what my JavaScript here does, summarize the script, sets and gets configuration from a bot, which actions is using, components that is relying on. So I can build this, and this is where you will work. This is where you need to kind of build a lot of things. Once this is ready, then you can just use it in your Power Automate Cloud flows. So real quick, I'll show you what I'm doing. And I can already try to see if my deployment ran. It didn't yet. So just run it here because we are almost out of time. So basically, this is the part where I get the JSON definition that I mentioned to you, and I'm passing through this Power Automate Cloud Flow. And this Power Automate Cloud Flow is called Document Power Automate Cloud Flow. This is basically just getting the definition. And if I open this document Power Automate Cloud Flow, I can show you. It's basically calling the AI Builder action. So we have an action for AI Builder, an action that is called create text with GPT. I can select which prompt I wanted to use, and then I pass the parameter. So it's asking for JSON. You remember that I created a variable called JSON there. Here I send the definition, and I'm asking for these two prompts. I'm getting the result, and I'm storing it. Basically, that's what my flow does. So it's pretty simple to use the prompts. We just need to configure which parameters we want to send, their names, and they will give us a result. And the result will be a text that we can store. So if I refresh it in here, hopefully it will be there. So I have a web resource in here, and this flow went there in the web resource and got what this script does. It manages interactions between business process flow, what is the trigger, which actions I have, which components. So if I see here, I have one flow that does the documentation of the web resource, and this is the very specific ones. We probably will need to do one for each type of thing. So I have, actually, it's not this one. It's the manually document. Let me see if this is this one that I put it. Yes, so basically I'm checking which type of resource I'm using, if it is a web resource or if it is a Power Automate Cloud Flow. For a Power Automate Cloud Flow, I'm getting the flow definition and I'm sending it to my child flow. If it is a web resource, then I'm trying to get the content, the JavaScript structure, and from that, I'm sending to the flow that does the documentation. If I see here, I can see the script because I saved it in the definition. So you can see also the script that was used to generate this summary. So we have the information ready. For our Canvas app, we will have an XML. For the most difficult ones would be if you have plugins, because then it's a C# code, it is a DLL that is installed, so it's not that easy. But for most of these Power Automate Cloud Flows, JavaScripts, HTMLs, CSS, sitemaps, everything behind the scenes is code, is text that we can use for our prompts. So yes, I'm out of time. Sorry for taking 1 minute out of my session, but that's what I would like to share with you guys today. Hopefully that was insightful.
It was amazing. I love that you started by saying that you wanted to sack yourself and replace yourself with AI, and then yeah, I get it. Documentation is boring, but you just made it like a proper dev stream. You got really excited about what you developed to do the legwork for you. I think that's awesome. It's so typical that we just want to play with the tech, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And yeah, we did go a little over time. And I think it'd be nice, I don't know if you've got permissions, Douglas, if you could pop onto the Q&A just for me to answer Sean directly, that would be great. Okay, so I think that's the end of the session today. Just a couple more bits. Let me present that to you in Teams. Scooch to the end. It doesn't want to let me start in a certain place. Just a couple more bits I wanted to mention to everybody while we've got you online. It's just a couple of upcoming events. There is another user group. It's actually the Malta user group coming up in July, which is always a good one. But I really wanted to emphasize Metaverse One. It's an event that I'm personally involved with and will be one of the track moderators that come along. There'll be a Power Platform track. We've got lots of great speakers coming up on that one. So do just go to Google and look for Metaverse One. It's going to be a fantastic event this September, and hopefully I'll see some of you there. Just finally, all of the recordings from today will be available on my YouTube channel. The address is here, but we always post in links back to the presenters and how you can get to their LinkedIn, X, and all of the profile stuff. And so you can ask questions directly to those speakers if you've got some follow-up to the stuff that we presented for you today. But again, thank you so much for coming along today. It's been absolutely brilliant. 3 jam-packed sessions, super useful content, and really up to date. So far up to date, in fact, we've been looking into the future with the Microsoft SharePoint functionality. So thank you again for coming along. I'm going to close today's session and you'll see us online on YouTube shortly. Thanks very much for your time, everybody.